All right, we have made it almost to the end.
Awesome.
So I have the controls again. It is a little complicated to explain interactions and animations. So I figured I would just kind of keep the controls. But this way you can get a glimpse into the world of animations, interactions, and then on your next project, you can do some dabbling yourself. So
That'll be fun.
let's jump right into it. Okay, so for interactions, there are two basic principles. There is the if this, then that. So I'll explain what I mean by that. So if we go over to our little lightning bolt, you'll first see two sets of triggers. There's an element trigger or a page trigger. So the element trigger applies to when you have an element selected. So we'll start with that. So I'll just grab a random item at the moment. We'll start with our image. So what I could do is I could add an element trigger. So that means something will happen when I trigger this element. So I'm going to click the little plus icon here. And so these are the options. These are the if this, and then everything else will be the then that. So here are I think there's only 5 available to us currently. So there's the mouse click. So if I click on this item, then something will happen. The next one is if I hover over this item, then we can have something happen. If the mouse moves over the element, then something can happen. So like locationally XY axis. Then the next one is if this item scrolls into view, then something happens. And the last one is while scrolling in view. So the when or scrolling into view means is when it scrolled into view, this item or whatever we set up will happen. And while scrolling in view means this thing will happen consistently or consecutively throughout the scroll of the item. So all right, let's start with scroll into view. So when this element scrolls into view, we can now set up our interaction or animation. So we have now selected, we have the image selected, and then we click the element trigger, and then we click scroll into view, and now it gives us two options. So number one, we can do when scrolled into view. So let's say you load up the page, it scrolls into view, something can happen. If you want it to undo what you did, so that every time you scrolled back up and down, it redoes whatever we set up, you would then set up a when scrolled out of view. So for this video, we'll do both, even though you probably would only need the first one on this specific element. All right, so to set up our action, we will now click action, set up an action. Now Webflow has several standard interactions that they've already set up. So you can either grab one of these, so we could fade it in, we could slide it up, it could grow, it could shrink, it could do some of those. So for this, we're actually going to make a little more custom one. So on the very top, it says custom animation, start an animation. So we're going to click that. Start an animation. Okay. So when scrolled into view, we now have to start an animation. All right, we now have to pick an offset. So by how much does this item scroll into view? So we're kind of weird because this section doesn't take up the full width. So right when you load up this website, this item is already in view. So we do kind of have an interesting option where you probably want to normally set an offset, but we're not going to be able to because it's already in view. So we're going to now add a timed animation. So we're going to call it newspaper into view. We named it. So now we're going to add an action to it. So what we're gonna do is what we're gonna try to accomplish is when it's scrolled into view, it'll move up and become opaque. So we're gonna start. Now this is gonna get a little complicated, so I'm just gonna start walking through it, and we're probably gonna have to backtrack a little bit. All right. So first thing, we are going to. All right. So trying to backtrack. Do you understand how we got to where we're at?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. So when you start a custom animation, you can pretty much do anything you want to an item. So you start to create this essentially a timeline of what you want it to do. So we want it to move up and then become visible. So we're going to set in two things. So we're going to click move, and then we're also going to add in opacity. So these right here start at the very beginning. All right, so we want the opacity to start at 0%. So we're going to click this little button down here that says set as initial state. That means the item will initially do whatever we want. So initially the opacity will be at 0.
Okay.
All right, and then the image, we're going to say start as initial state. So we're actually going to start it down. So we're actually going to move it away initially. So we are going to move it
Okay.
down 100 and we'll call it 200 pixels.
Okay.
All right. So initially, the image is now 200 pixels down and it's not there. So now we have to undo that. So we are now going to add a move and we're going to add an opacity. So we are going to say that all right, so the move, let's start with the opacity. So when it comes into view, it will be 100% opacity. So we're going to say that will take, so this is how long this right here, this little setting will be. How long is this going to take? All right, so we're going to say, all right, I'll take half setting or half a second. We'll put it as ease in. And then we'll say, oh, sorry, I have to actually put that at 100% opacity. And the image will come back to 0. So it'll come back to its starting point. And those things are going to happen at the same time. So I'm going to drag them together. And those will happen now at second 0. And that's what will happen. So we can hit the little play button, and that's what will happen. So when we now preview the site, that's what happens. It now comes in. All right, it comes in. And what do you think? Is that a decent? We'll come down.
I would
Here's where.
maybe slow that down. I would think it could take a while longer, but
All right, so let's up it to 1 second, and let's do 1 second. All right, it's kind of a little slow.
that is a touch slow. So
Let's do 0.7 and 0.7. All right.
yeah.
There we go. So that is how you set up an interaction. So that is when it scrolls into view, that thing happens. So I would say we could do the same thing right here on this text. What do you think? Maybe not, maybe. Could be interesting.
Yeah, because you're scrolling. I mean, by the time they get down there, that'd be interesting. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to grab the copy wrapper. So we're actually going to, got to save this one. All right, so now we're going to start a new interaction. So we're going to do an element interaction, and we're going to do scroll into view, and we're going to create a custom interaction. And let's give this one an offset. So we'll see what that looks like. So we're going to give that a 20% offset. And we're going to make a new timed animation. So on this one, we're actually just going to have it scale. So we are going to go down here and we're going to set as our initial state. The scale is much smaller. So it's going to start out really small. And then we're going to come up here and we're going to duplicate that. And then we're going to say that it's just going to come back to normal. So it's going to come back to 1 scale. Then we're also going to add in opacity. We're going to drag this up to the initial, set as initial. The opacity is going to be 0. And then we'll come in with another one and do opacity. And we'll say 100% opacity after a half second. So we'll just kind of drag these together. All right, so let's look at this one. So we're going to come down. I'm going to start up here because we're going to pretend we're scrolling down. Now we have a little bit of an offset. So you'll see the thing hasn't started yet. So we're going to keep scrolling, keep scrolling, keep scrolling, and there it is. So that was our little offset that helped that not happen right away. So we can go down a little bit more, keep going, and there it is.
Cool.
Our text coming in. All right, so I would say we should now do a hover animation. So let's go to these ones. So let's save this. I should actually name that. We're going to call that map copy in. All right, we'll save that animation. And then we'll go here. So let's grab, so we're going to do a hover. Do you want it to happen when it just hovers on the image or when it hovers on the whole card?
So it'd be kind of cool to hover on. You tell me. Well, that would be interesting. See what happens. I guess.
I would probably just say the
So I don't
whole
know what it'll
item.
look like.
Yeah,
All
I would
right.
probably say the whole item because we can scale up an item. All right, so we have the item selected. So we're going to do a mouse hover. All right, so we're going to do select an animation. Now for this, we're just going to use an a pre-built one. So we're going to do grow. So we're going to grow, or no, wait, maybe I want, yeah, maybe I want grow. Oh, no, wait, no, that won't change. I'm going to go to custom animation. I'm going to add a new one, and we're going to call this NFT scale in. All right, so we're going to now grab it, and we're going to say scale to what? We are going to scale to, I don't know if we're going to do it too much. We're just going to do a nice little 1.1. So we're going to click save. Well, let's set it, I don't want that long of a delay because this will be a quick hover. So we're going to go 0.3 and we're going to do ease in. This is just how quickly it does the animation. So it
Okay.
just eases in. All right, so we're now saving that. But on this one, we actually want a hover out because right now, if I do this, so if I now hover it, it scales, but it doesn't unscale because we don't have a hover
Oh.
out
Yep.
set. So we'll now go back to
Right.
this and we'll add a on hover out. We'll click start a custom animation. We are going to create a new one. We're going to call it NFT hover out. And we're going to go here. And because we scaled the other one, we're going to go to this one. And we're just going to scale it to 1. So when we hover out, and we're going to ease that and do 0.3. And we're going to save that. All right, so now when we preview this, hovers in, hovers out, hovers in, hovers out. What do you think of that?
That's pretty slick.
All right, so we're going to save that one. I kind of want to use a move around. All right, let's do this. So we've got our section here. So we're going to do a page trigger. So we're going to do mouse move in viewport. So when the mouse moves in viewport, we are going to have the copy. All right, we're going to play mouse animation. All right, we are now going to make some changes. So when the mouse moves, we are going to move this. So when it's at, let's see, X is which way? I'm trying to think now. X is 0. All right, so we're going to start off by doing negative 50. And then when it's at 100%, we're going to move it to positive 50. And we're going to move it up and down. We're going to go negative 50. And then we're going to move it positive 50. All right, so let's see how that works. All right, so that's coming just side to side. We're not getting up and down. Why is that? Stop. Negative 50 pixels. Oh, I think I must have done this one wrong. 50 and negative 50. Oh, I see what I'm doing. My bad. I'm not changing which way I'm moving. So I need to change this. So this gets zeroed out and this becomes negative 50 because this is the left and right and this is the up and down. That's what I was doing wrong. Enter and then just 50. Okay. Oh, sorry. This, I accidentally had a 0 in here, and it's supposed to have been left blank because it was thinking I wanted to move it 0 pixels. There we go.
Oh, very nice. Wow, that's kind of cool.
So it almost seems like we should have it opposite. I actually kind of like those things to go opposite. So just for giggles, while we're here, let's actually just go regular 100, negative 100, regular 100, and negative 100. Yeah, just that's kind of funny. Just actually accidentally having a 0 in there kind of botches the whole. There we go. So now it looks a little more natural. All right, then we got that. We can hover over these things. And there we go. Actually, one thing we did
Oh,
not do was we did not set up hover on these. So let's grab this real quick.
oh,
And that's something we can just do over here in our
yeah.
states. So we'll do hover. And then we're actually going to change the color of the font when it's on hover to maybe a little lighter. So there we go. And now that's just, oh, because I have that tab open. I now can click none. And then there we go. So now those light up when we hover. Another thing I don't think we did is we fixed the menu button, but we never designed it.
Oh, that's right.
So we are going to do that real quick. So we click on this icon and we go to the little settings toggle and we say show the menu. So we're going to make the background color white. Oops, am I on this menu button? We're going to make the menu button white and we're going to change the icon to our green. Nope, I don't want that. I need to go to typography, I think, and select green. There we go. And then for this all, let's just keep it simple and let's just do white. And then let's center that copy. There we go. Boom. And we can see how it's coming from
Okay,
down. We can
nice.
choose, do we want it to come from over in the settings? We can say, do we want it to come from down? Do we want it to come over the right? Do we want it to come from over the left?
Hmm.
Let's do, I like the drop down. Let's keep it
Yeah.
as ease in, or I guess ease out. And then let's preview that. There we go. Checking our animations. All right. So that was using our interactions and animations. Ooh, wait.
Then we need to make our burger menu disappear, it looks like on.
I think that was just a little glitch in there. I don't think it actually would
Oh,
appear. I think it was just kind of a little glitch. All right. So 2 more things that we will go over. I don't see anything though, because I think we did all of our H2s right, but we're actually going to click this audit panel. Oh, there is actually some stuff.
okay.
All right. So when you're done with the page, you always want to come back and audit it. And a lot of this is related to accessibility. So we can now check this stuff. So this does not have alt text.
Okay.
So we will now want to go to this image, click settings, and we need to give it a custom description. So cute, Nessie with hat. All right. And then we'll go back to our audit panel. Oops, did that not take that? I don't know if it's just not loading it. Let's see if it goes back. All right, let's go to the next one. Same thing. Actually, what I should do is, because we use it more than one place, I actually want to click this little settings wheel here and copy paste this, and then go to our assets panel, click on this, and add it here. And then we can go to our audit, and now it dealt with that. And we actually now need to click on this one and say, get it from the alt text from asset panel. All right, so then this one is missing it. So we should go to our assets and we should type in Scotland flag. All right, boom. So open up again. This one's not, oh, this one isn't done. So we need to go here and we need to say, Nessie is spotted newspaper. If I can spell that right. All right. Then we've got a skipped heading level. So we used an H4 here, and we should have used an H3. So we're going to up that to H3. And stylistically, if we wanted the size of an H2, we would then do heading medium as our class. Heading, oops, no space, heading medium. And that is then, I guess that'd be heading small, heading small. There we go. And that's how you would undo that while still maintaining the heading level for Google.
Okay.
All right. So there we go. We completed our audit. So the last thing SEO-wise we would do for this page is we would open up the page setting. So we'd go to up here, go to the home page, we'd click settings, and we would now just have our general SEO settings. So we would make sure our name is the home, and then we might do our little title tag. So what's a title that you'd want to give this? Just Nessie.
This would be Nessie citing an NFT collection. Yeah.
And this is just going in and telling Google what we'd want it to show. And then Open Graph is what you would want it to look like if someone shared this page to social media. So let's say we'd probably want one of our save changes. So we're going to grab this guy's URL. So we're going to click settings. We're going to grab this URL from this, and we're going to go make that our Open Graph setting for this page. So we're going to click settings, and then we're just going to go back to Open Graph and pop this in here. So this is what it would look like if someone shared it. This is some other stuff that we're not really worried about. All right, so that is how you would do some SEO settings. We did the audit, and then all we would do is we would just come over to here and click publish, and we'd publish to our selected domain. And so this will now work on publishing it. Let that think for a second. All right, well, that's thinking. Do you have any last questions at your first view into Webflow?
I really just had one that I was thinking of as we were just early on starting out, but I'm sure I'll come up with more as we were adding a bunch of div blocks to our page as we were working on it. And I was thinking about page load speed. Maybe that'll kind of break out into two questions. So how do div blocks work with page load speed?
So div blocks, that's a very good question. And FinSuite actually has a whole blog on how div blocks affect page speed, and it is so minimal. You could probably have thousands of div blocks, and it just would not draw down the speed of a page. So yeah, I mean, unless you literally did, thousands upon thousands that were stacked, and they each had their own class, you could run into some page speed issues. But Webflow is so good at they use, I think, AWS or some CDN for delivering page speed. So you would have a hard time building a site, like even if you had a CMS collection with 2,000 items, the search speed for that is so fast in Webflow that the most sluggish you could get your site is probably still faster than, I don't want to make claims that we can't back up, but probably faster than any WordPress site you could build. The other really cool thing, when you upload images into Webflow, so let's say you upload something that's 2000 by 900 or 1000, they will automatically turn that into 100 different sizes of that image and will send the smallest needed version to each site. So when we upload that newspaper on desktop, it will load a very small version of that to mobile, which will help improve the mobile speed, because that is sometimes an issue with WordPress, is when you're trying to deal with mobile versus desktop speed.
Right.
Your mobile speeds really get hurt because you have images that you have to have high quality for desktop. So that's another really cool
Yeah.
thing. So I think speed wise, resource wise, there's just no comparison from what I've seen in Webflow. So yeah,
Yep.
how confident do you feel? I mean, how much do you feel like you learned? How much do you feel like you absorbed? How confident do you feel like? I mean, obviously we've improved incrementally. Um,
Yep.
so where do you feel like you're at? Give
So
us some insight.
all right, I think I would say I'm maybe at a 4 out of 10. But I'd
Interest
say
level or
after
knowledge level?
knowledge level,
Okay.
which is pretty good. I would say that's a compliment to you. That's not an insult to you.
We
That's
try.
a compliment to you. Um,
I'll take a four.
because
I'll take a four.
there's so much to learn in Webflow that's pretty good after just however many hours of recording that we've done. And I don't want to over extend my capabilities after just a few short hours. So,
Yeah, I would
but I'm very
say
impressed with your teaching. So,
thank you. Thank you. No, I would definitely say I feel like at this point we probably have a solid foundation. There are a lot more nuances, especially when you get lost and being able to unwind, like what's going on and where the class is coming from. And like when we had the header issue, there's just so many things that can be wrong. And so it's always like, all right, you got to start with the lowest class element and then you got to go all the way up. And then, especially when you're having issues on like desktop or tablet, or when you're having issues on tablet, you've got to start on desktop, start at the bottom class, work your all the way up, then go to tablet, start, work all the way up. And it becomes a very large, very daunting process to remedy issues. And that's one of the important things about having really good naming conventions and consistent styling. So that way, if you have a problem and you need someone else to open up your project, they're not just like, what's going on in here? So,
what a mess.
yes. Sweet. Well, I think I'd be curious to see if latch on to Webflow, or if, WordPress is a good comfort zone. I feel like at least now you've got the tools to open up a project, dive deeper into the Fin Suite stuff, and just kind of play around off camera, no pressure and stuff. So, all right, well, good
All
job.
right.
You now have a Nessie site. Any last words?
Thank you very much. Had fun playing with Nessie, showing off my NFTs, a couple of my dad jokes, some few puns, and
Yeah, you're
appreciate
most
you
welcome.
taking the time.
You bet. And I'll be curious to see if you come up with more content that you end up wanting on the site, or you want to like change the user interface and stuff. We'll have to see if we can end up coming back for a follow-up series if we determine the website wasn't up to par. So,
We'll see how many offers I get on some of my NFTs people want to buy. It'd be like, hey, I love that one. And,
well, there you go. There you go. All right. Well, I guess this is the end of this chapter.
all right,
We've completed it. So, all right, let's sign
more to
off.
come.
Good job,
All
and
right,
it was
bye.
fun.